Hi, my name is Vicky.
And my name's Kelly.
And we have MS. So, what is multiple sclerosis?
No idea what the symptoms would be, to be honest.
Not a clue.
Maybe it's something
Not
to
aware of it at
research.
As far as I understand, it's progressive and people will eventually end up maybe in a wheelchair or gradually losing strength.
Gets you degenerating a bit, so you don't really have control over what you have. You know, your normal functions get overridden a bit and it gets a bit frustrating because you can't do what you want to do.
People know that MS is serious, but they don't really understand what MS is.
What is MS? Now, a few sentences always is a bit hard for that one, but MS is the commonest condition causing neurological problems for young people, and it's in essence caused by the immune system reacting against nerve linings and causing damage, and the consequence of that is to have flare-ups of problems that tend to get better in the earlier years and eventually to reach a phase where things gradually deteriorate. The simple view of it is that the immune system becomes overactive and starts reacting against the myelin nerve linings and causes it to be damaged and come off the nerves. So then you have a bare nerve which simply doesn't conduct the signal properly.
I started revising because I had the exams at university and I couldn't write, and that's how I'm used to revising, and I thought, oh okay, it's going to come back, and like waited quite a few weeks, and that was the only symptom I had. And then my right leg, because all of my symptoms are right-sided, my right leg started to feel weak, and whenever I went on walks it would always give up on me. I started to feel tired quite a lot and always was in bed before everyone else.
I had lots and lots and lots of symptoms. Numbness in my legs, optic neuritis, numbness in the hands. Yeah, I felt it was a very weird feeling, just sort of this numbness in my leg, and just it felt okay a couple of days ago, and now it's just really odd. It's the best way I can describe it.
A diagnosis of MS can for some take several years, for others it may only be a few days, but for everybody there is always a reaction. Sometimes people feel relieved to finally know what is wrong with them.
The lead up to my diagnosis was rather sudden. I had a kind of a discomfort in my shoulder for 3 weeks, and then I was at work one day and my vision became pretty blurred. So I went outside to get some fresh air and my balance seemed to have gone, and then I was kind of very concerned. And then that evening I had continual vomiting, and I had no idea what was wrong with me. The next day I was taken to hospital, and after various tests and scans I had an MRI scan, and they revealed that I had a probable diagnosis of MS.
So I went to the neurologist in mind with a strong suspicion that I had MS, and basically said to him, these are the symptoms. From what I've counted, if this is MS, I've had 2 relapses. I think it's MS, and he just said, I think you're right.
He started talking about your immune system, and then he carried on waffling a bit more, and then he said multiple sclerosis. And then after that I didn't hear what he said at all, and it was just like, oh my God, I've got MS. What is MS? Oh my God, I'm going to be in a wheelchair. And so I cried all the way home on the train.
Well, not knowing what was wrong with me was probably the hardest thing. I was confused, but I thought I was lying there in hospital bed, paralysed, disabled, just out of nowhere, randomly woke up like it. Yeah, and I thought I was actually going to die. I thought it was fatal. And so I was lying, I didn't know what to think. I can't remember what I was thinking, but I remember I was laughing quite a lot, and it was a big shock, and it was just surreal.
The good news is, 15 years ago we had very little in the way of treatment at all. We now probably have 4 or 5 licensed therapies which are quite effective at reducing the number of relapses people have over a period of time. And I suspect in the next 4 or 5 years we're going to have even more effective therapies with fewer side effects that are easier to take, that are not injections, that are tablets. Most people with MS know that at present the treatments for MS are injectable treatments, but there are a whole number of other treatments coming online that will suit people in different ways. Some people want tablets, some people want injections, some people might not want any drug or pharmacological treatment at all and will pursue treatments, sort of physical therapy treatments and that side of things. So there's a whole range of treatments that need to be tailored to the individual person and the individual person's MS.
There's a lot of support around for people with MS. It's knowing what's there and what's in your area that's often the real difficulty. In general, people will be diagnosed with MS by a neurology specialist, and that will be your point of contact for medical questions, or if your MS has ups and downs. Because we're often busy, then there's a network of MS specialist nurses who are experts in MS, and for most people would be the easiest way to get advice from the MS service.
What we can do for patients that are newly diagnosed, we will see them soon after that diagnosis. Some specialist nurses will be in clinic when they're given the diagnosis, but others will have their own clinic time. And we'll see them. We have a longer appointment with them, which is much nicer because it's more relaxed. They can come with their own set of questions. We'll talk through the impact of the diagnosis, go through perhaps some diagrams, what it is, the different types of MS. Then really we're just guided by the person, by the questions that they have. Following that first appointment, they'll possibly be offered follow-up appointments, and during those appointments we'll look at managing their symptoms, managing the unpredictability of the condition really.
Here are some tips from the physiotherapist which may help you if you have MS.
The most important thing to remember is that if you don't use it, you will lose it. It's important to exercise regularly and moderately to keep your muscles strong and to make sure that you keep your body fit. When you're exercising, it's important to listen to your body, and your body will tell you when you've done too much. Then you can stop and have a rest and perhaps return to your exercise or activity at a later date or a later time. If you have a relapse, you have to take it easy for a little while, but then get back to your exercises again. But remember that you can't perhaps go back to the level of exercising that you were doing beforehand. You need to moderate your exercises, and if you need advice about what you should or shouldn't do, you should consult a physiotherapist. There are lots of different exercises that people with MS can do that can be beneficial to them to help keep muscles strong and joints supple. Anything that you enjoy doing will make you feel better. Exercises such as Pilates and yoga have been shown to help people with MS, and even the Wii Fit with all its different games is something that a lot of people enjoy to do with their friends and family as well as by themselves.
Someone I work with has got MS. In our office they react quite well, and she's been there a couple of years, so we've got used to having her around and helping her and getting her to doctors and things like that.
Although MS changes people's lives, it shouldn't stop them. You may have this condition, but it doesn't have you. Dreams can still be fulfilled and goals accomplished. You may just have to take a different route to get there.
And it's took me a year to get used to that, with the diagnosis and trying treatments. But the positive thing I have managed to do is go to the V Festival in summer this year and go camping for a couple of days and get in amongst it. I wasn't going to let that stop me, and I took my Rebiff with me and kept it cold in the cooler box with the food and beer.
I think because I wasn't allowed to carry on university last year, I actually done my exams in August and passed all of them without being at university for a year. So that's probably my biggest achievement in MS as well.
One thing that I can almost 100% guarantee, short of a plane crash or getting run over by a bus, is I'm getting married in March. So in 6 weeks' time, I'll be walking down the aisle with my fiancée, and it's all going really well. And I bought my groom's suit the other week, and I look really, really sharp.
In terms of learning about MS, of course, you go to an appointment, ask what you want to ask, and the moment you get home, you think of another 100 questions. So the internet then provides a lot more information. But like anything else on the internet, it's not a regulated system. You can find out all sorts that might be helpful or not. Shift MS, www.shift.ms, is a site set up in the last year or two which tries to tackle this problem, and I would recommend that highly to people who want to find out more about MS or make contact with others in the same situation.
When I was first diagnosed, my neurologist told me that people most commonly diagnosed with MS in their 20s and 30s. I spent a lot of time kind of online looking for resources that I felt were appropriate for me. I felt a lot of the sites out there were kind of dominated by much older people with a kind of more developed course of MS. And so kind of from that, myself and a group of friends set up www.shift.ms, which is a social network for young people to support each other.
One thing that made me change my mind and spurred me on was meeting Kelly and the mustard soup group, and knowing that actually you're not on your own and that there are other people there with you, because for the first year I felt so isolated and you just think that you're on your own.
And I kept being told all of the time, oh, it's a really common thing, it's such a common illness, and I'd sit at home, particularly during the early days after my relapse and my diagnosis, as during recovery, thinking, well, where on earth is everybody? So I just kind of started putting the feelers out really and talking to my neurological nurses and saying, you know, I really want to kind of get a group of young people together because I think we all need to support each other.
It's really information giving, possibly signposting if they want to access other services like physiotherapy or the charity, perhaps one of the centres locally. And a lot of it is really just sort of keeping them on board and being there for them.
So there are many areas that we can help the newly diagnosed. The hardest thing for any of them to do is to either ring or come in. It's very difficult walking into an MS centre, and what I would like to think we can do is just to support and cradle that person for as long as they need and when they need it. If somebody comes to see me and I don't see them anymore for 6 months, I don't think, oh dear, what did I do wrong? I think that's great, they don't need me at the moment. Having said that, if they ring me every day for the next 6 months, that's fine too, because what it says is they need my support at the moment, and that's what I'm there for, and that's what the MS Centre is there for.
I look at my children, I look at my husband, and I just draw so much strength. The children need a mum, my husband needs a wife, the washing still has to be done, the ironing still has to be done, we still need a meal on the table. And I haven't got time to be down in the dumps about a problem which I've been handed. It is what it is, it's the hand that I've been dealt, and I think that it will make me stronger for it.
I did very well in my exams. I came out the other side proud of myself and absolutely determined to get through the rest of the course. So I'm more than happy to be a GP.
Just because you've got MS doesn't mean you have to stop dreaming. The only person that's going to stop you dreaming is yourself, which is completely true. The only person that's put a full stop in your life or isolated you from something, from someone, is yourself. It's not them, it's not the disease or the condition. It's you, and it's the way you're thinking.
There are many unknowns with MS, and as there is with anyone, any life, and I think it's just important to deal with what you have right now and make the best of it and not worry about what may happen. Because when it does happen, you deal with it and you move on. So just get on with it and enjoy.